All right, everyone. Today, what we're going to be doing is doing a gestural composition of the four basic shapes. Now, the four basic shapes, as you may recall, are these things here, and that's actually the reference photo that I'm going to be using. Okay? So, what I want to watch out for in this, when I'm setting this up, is where the objects are in relation to each other and how they're overlapping one another. Also, notice that because of the angle at which this picture was taken, that each of these objects, well, except for the sphere, taper a little bit toward the bottom. Okay? So be very careful of that. The cylinder does, the cube does, the cone, not so much. Actually, it does, but you can't really tell. Whoops. It does, but you can't really tell. And the sphere is going to be the same all the way around, no matter what you do. Okay? So I'll be doing a quick gesture of this composition, and then in my next little short video, I'll be making a structural line drawing. Okay? Okay. Now, so as you can see here, I've roughed out the basic shapes in my compositional gesture drawing. Okay, you notice that I did actually use a straight edge for some of these spots. Now, in this case here, with the cube, I did not. I was just roughing in the angles there. With the cylinder, I felt like I needed to get a baseline for it. So I went ahead and put in a straight line so I could deviate from that to figure out exactly how much I needed to bring it in to keep it in the correct perspective. Okay, notice too that, okay, I'm drawing these things almost like they're transparent. I'm drawing over top one another, so I make sure I can get the placement correct. You want to do that too, okay? Otherwise, your objects might get distorted, okay? In the case of like the sphere back here, okay, you probably saw me doing this thing. That's a little trick that we use to make sure that we're making it good and round, even when we're just drawing stuff freehand. Just kind of take a measurement, same way this way, same way this way, and just draw around it. In the case of the cone, I had to draw an ellipse on the bottom, find the center, and do a straight line vertically. And then I had to find where the top of this cone, about where it met the top of the sphere. Okay? That's how I measured how tall to make it. And if it's the right height, then these angles are correct as well. Okay? And I think they are. In the case of the cylinder, okay, the ellipse at the bottom is deeper than the ellipse at the top because that's closer to our point of view, or our line of vision. Okay? So this is going to be flatter up here. Right? It's also, according to the reference photo, a little bit taller than this, at least in the back. Okay? It's not actually taller. Well, it is, but it's setting further back behind. Okay, so that is how you can create a compositional gesture, or gestural line drawing, whatever you want to call it. You might have noticed with the cube, I was using an angled pencil. That was because I was lining my pencil up with the reference photo, lining up the angle, and then just bringing it over here and making the line go at that angle. That's the easiest way to do line of sight drawing. Okay? Now, I'll pause this, and what I'll do is I'm going to continue, but I'm going to tighten this thing up a bit and make it into a structural line drawing, which is what you want to have, a good solid correct line drawing before you start adding any shading whatsoever. I am not going to be shading today. That is not what we're about today. Today it's like getting the objects in place and getting them right. Okay? All right. Okay, so that was pretty quick, pretty easy. As you can see, I've got my structural line drawing pretty much done. It's all fairly correct. You know, I'll have to make some minor changes here and there when I start doing the finished drawing. Okay, now notice that I used a roll of tape that just happened to be the right size to do the sphere. You know, there's nothing wrong with using whatever tools you can to get things right. Okay? Same is true with using a ruler. People always say, well, you know, I can't draw a straight line without a ruler. Well, you know what? Nobody can. Not really. So use a ruler, use templates, use whatever you have to get these things right. Okay? I did have to move it a little bit. Didn't have it placed quite right at first, and I was kind of drawing around it wrong. And, you know, that's what erasers are for. Not a big deal. I had it over this way a little too far. So, you erase away a little bit. Not a big deal. That's why you draw really light at this point. Again, you can see that I've erased away some of the areas where I've overlapped, but, you know, I still need to get rid of, like, this in here and all of that. Got to clean it up a little bit. But, you know, you want to just make sure, you know, you go from your reference to your drawing, keep looking at back and forth, making sure that it looks correct. That's what you want to do, okay? So, start off with a compositional gesture, went right on through. Now we've got our structural line drawing done. Next thing we're going to do with this drawing next week, and yours is probably going to be a little bit bigger than mine. Mine, I have to use a piece of paper that's small enough that it'll fit on the screen. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be adding shadows. But we're not going to actually be shading in at first. What we're going to be doing is just drawing in lines where the shadows are. Okay? So that's what we're going to be doing next. Drawing in just lines where the shadows are. In this case, like with a cone, we've got a shadow core that comes down here and then goes, it's a form shadow with a shadow core that comes down to here and then goes off this way, you know, becoming a cast shadow. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing next. But for now, just stick with a compositional gesture and then take that on through to a structural line drawing. Like this, or whichever. There's 6 different photos you can choose from. Pick one of these with the basic objects, or if you have a setup that you have at home that you like and want to use, you know, use that, you know, instead. That's fine. Okay? All right. I'll talk to you guys next time.